raise as much as 30 or 40% of their operating revenues from fines. Fines for not mowing your lawn. Fines for standing on the street longer than 5 seconds. I'm not making that one up. And so when you're poor and you can't pay those fines, it means if they stop you, you go into jail. And that's why when someone's pulled over because their taillight is out, it's not about the taillight. They don't have the money. And they run. And they're shot in the back and murdered. Hannah Arendt, in The Origins of Totalitarianism, writes about the phenomena she calls omnipotent policing. She herself, a German refugee, after being released by the Gestapo, was stripped of her rights, of her German citizenship and her German passport, and is stateless in the way undocumented workers and poor people of color who live in marginal communities in this country are virtually stateless. 94% of those within our grotesque system of mass incarceration never had a trial. If all of those within our prison system went to trial, the court system would collapse. And so what happens is they stack you with so many charges, most of which you did not commit, and they know you didn't commit them. And then the prosecutor barters. And increasingly we're seeing that as part of that deal, these people must sign agreements never to appeal. I've taught at Princeton, Columbia, New York University, the University of Toronto. And there is more brilliance, passion for the life and the mind, thirst for knowledge, and integrity in those prison classrooms than in any classroom that I was in at these elite universities. And we must go back to Marx again, because what happens with surplus or redundant labor, bodies that cannot generate a profit for capitalists on the streets of marginal communities, is that they are funneled into a system where they are put in cages, where once locked away, they can generate $40,000 or $50,000 a year. For prison contractors, private phone companies like Global Tel-Link, which charges 4, 5, 6 times what you and I pay for phone calls, plus surcharges because you pay in advance. Surcharges that can rise up to 40%. Remember, these are families who have nothing, and often their primary wage earner is no longer with them. And what I find so egregious is that usually that phone is the only connection with between an incarcerated parent and their children. Commissaries have been privatized. Where I teach in New Jersey, families used to be able to send those who are incarcerated things like shoes, but that's been banned because the corporations that run the commissaries want a captive market. And I got a list of commissary prices in 1996 and prices today, and prices have risen usually by at least 100% and often more. We're talking about deodorant, soap, toothpaste. You earn $1.30 a day for 8 hours of work. That's $28 a month. And you are no longer given shoes you have to buy them, and it's $45 for a pair of Levi's. Medical, they charge. Legal, they charge. If you have a relative who is dying or who has died, you get a 15-minute visit, either a deathbed visit or a viewing, and they charge you overtime for the guards, which is $900. So we are now seeing within our prison system people being released, thousands of dollars in debt, although they work 40-hour weeks, and of course do not qualify for Social Security. And if they can't service that debt, they go right back into the prison. It is incumbent upon us that we look at these sacrifice zones, that we look at what's happening to the most vulnerable among us, because that is what they are planning for the rest of us. There are no impediments now in corporate power, none. The rise of omnipotent policing, courtesy of drug laws, means that as we have become more aware because of Black Lives Matter, poor people in this country are gunned down. The Washington Post did a story about a week ago and said that that figure that we've been using of 28, one person murdered by militarized police every 28 hours is wrong because it's self-reporting, and it's at least 2 a day. And yet, people keep walking, people keep protesting, and they keep killing. Because they can. So a night raid in Oakland or Detroit, where they kick down your door at 2 in the morning, dressed in black, carrying long-barreled weapons, wearing Kevlar vests, terrorizing a family, including children, for a nonviolent warrant, perhaps a nonviolent drug offense, looks no different from a night raid in Fallujah. Because when empires collapse, they collapse in the same way. They hollow themselves out from the inside. They expand beyond their capacity to sustain themselves. And we are no different from any other dying empire. Thucydides, when he wrote about the collapse of Athenian democracy, said that Athens first became a tyrant abroad and then a tyrant at home. And empires in mortal decline destroy their cities first. And you can leapfrog from city to city to city in this country and see the crumbling infrastructure, the roads, the shuttered libraries, the closed schools. And as these forces cannibalize the nation state, they bring back the harsh forms of control used on the edge